Morning guys, welcome back to the Voodoo Rod build. Today we're going to be doing a under wrap with trim bands and a single turn inlay, and we have a special guest. We'll get into that later. Y'all stick around. So to start things off, my special guest here is Captain Lou. He is my business partner in the guide business, Artificial Entertainment, and I run the Central Florida operations. He handles Okeechobee and the Everglades and Alligator Alley and the Miami Urban Canal.
South Florida.
Everything that way. So he's up this weekend because we were fishing the Bass and Burgers and BS yesterday with the AE fishing community. Had a great time, caught a bunch of fish. Had some good burgers, and then there was a lot of BS going on at the table. So it's a fun community event. You probably heard about it over on the AE Fishing channel. But Lou has Bassin' with Captain Lou. And he will teach you how to catch exotics and peacock bass and largemouth bass all over South Florida. That's his specialty. Not so much for me. But when I go down...
But you got a taste of it.
I pick his brain. Yeah, I've gone down, had a great time. But today we're going to be continuing the Voodoo Rod build. And like I told you last time, we're going to be doing a little bit more blingy stuff than I would normally do, trying to drive up the value of this rod because it's going to be raffled for charity. So let's get started. Yesterday, Captain Lou and I did a static load test and decided that this is the placement of our stripper guide. Now, you guys have seen the videos where I do the load test and I move the guides around underneath the load with the braid on it, so you can see that's exactly what we did yesterday. It's the first time Lou had ever seen one. He was amazed by it, so before he heads back south today, he wanted to see an under wrap. So let's get started. To get started, obviously we've done layout here, and this black mark with my Sharpie is my ring placement. And what I'm going to do is I will mark the end of my guide feet. This is all going to be covered with thread. And then I want to mark the center of between the guide feet for the single turn inlay, which will be right there. Now we'll get the guide out of the way for now. Pull my rubber band back. Now I want to measure out equal amounts in front of each guide foot to start my wrap. So I'm going to go about 5 millimeter. Actually, I think I'll go 10 because this is the under wrap part. We'll be out 5 from the toe with the actual wrap holding the guide down. So that's 10. And that's 10. Okay. With the accent trim wraps, I'm going to show you guys how to do it with fingers, stubby fingers that don't work so well sometimes. So we're going to start off by pulling some of this silver size A thread that we're going to use for the accent. Let it relax a little bit, get some of the twist out of it. We'll cut that length. And then we're going to pin it down to the blank with enough of the thread on the butt side to do the accent wrap. So we'll pin it here. And then we need enough on the tip side of the wrap to do the single turn inlay and the accent wrap on the tip end. And I want to actually pin this to the dirty side of the blank, which is the trigger, which is where you make all of your thread changes, because it's not exactly perfect looking, and you always want to put that on the bottom of the blank.
Okay.
You hide it. This is the side that we're
hiding. Oh, hiding place.
This is the hiding place.
Okay, okay.
So what I'm doing here is I'm going to pin this here. I'm going to take all this slack because it's going to get tangled and twisted here in a minute and really irritate me. So I'm going to just use that same piece of tape to hide all that slack. And same thing here on the back. And get this out of the way, because what this will do as I'm turning this, it's going to wind up back here and get tangled up in the feet.
Oh, okay.
It's really irritating because then you got to stop and back up and do it again.
Sure.
So now that we've got our accent thread laid in there, and I can barely see it, so I'm going to need to find my glasses. Oh, they're on top of my head. Perfect. We're going to kick the belt off of the wrapper. We're going to start this by hand. Now I'm going to do a black and silver under wrap, and then we'll have the blue over the top of the guide feet, so you'll have that same look. You'll have black, blue,
okay.
silver, but the blue will be actually holding the guide down.
Oh, okay.
So I'm going to start this wrap just like I normally start a wrap, just outside my mark. And I did a single turn by hand here and pin that tail end of that thread down. And I'm going to put some tension back here on my spool. Yep, you know what? I forgot something. Let's try that again. This is what happens when you're not paying attention. One thing, because of this trim wrap on the back side, I need to pin a thread pull. So we're gonna tape down a thread pull so we can pull that silver back underneath the black thread. So we're gonna do this here. I forget this step often. You will too. So that's why I'm showing it to you. I always show you guys my mistakes anyway. You guys know that. I'm not too proud. And I'm really good at making mistakes. So, you stick with what you know, right?
Exactly.
Alright, so let's start this again. So we're going to start the black right on the mark. I'm going to cross over the thread. Ooh. I'm just going to do a crossover to hold it. Adjust my thread tension again. And that starts the wrap. So now we're just wrapping in black. I'm going to cut my tag in out of the way next time. Okay, let's get busy on the wrap here. Okay, now we're far enough we can do the trim wrap on the butt side and get that thread pull out of the way. So what we'll do is we'll unpin this silver. I'll unpin the thread pull here. And we'll unpin the rest of this silver, which that is now stuck. Okay, now we're going to do probably 5 or 6 turns with the silver because this is size 8 thread. It's pretty small. And we're actually doing black and silver at the same time. The black is going towards the tip. The silver is working its way back to the butt. Making sure I don't cross over. That's 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and then 10. So we'll put 10 on the other end as well. So we're going to tuck this in the loop.
Oh, that's how you guys do that.
Yeah, it's a super secret trick. You know, I'm going to have to kill you before we leave now that I've told you all this stuff. On,
that's okay. I'll be lost in about another 5 minutes and I'll forget.
I'm going to pull this thread pull out of here and pull that silver back underneath. Just like that.
And then you continue.
And then I'll nip it.
Okay.
And then we'll continue with the black. So the silver looks nice and neat now. I use the burnishing tool here to neaten everything up. Are we in wrap?
No. Oh yeah, you put the belt back on, yeah.
There we go. Now we're fire. Okay. I'm gonna run the black out until we get close to where I'm gonna do that single turn inlay. It's like the little silver trim that I put on JJ's rods right in front of the wheel seat.
Oh, okay, yeah.
That's a single turn inlay.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, we're at the point of the single turn inlay now. The single turn inlay is actually going to be 2 or 3 turns, but it looks like 1 turn. You just, to get the accent to actually show, if I do just 1 thread, it might be a little small.
Okay.
So what we'll do is we'll unpin this. And we're going to turn this by hand, but we got to get back to the dirty side. This is the trigger. And what we will do is we will actually cross over the black. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold the black thread. I know you guys can't see my fingers in the way. I'm going to hold the black thread, pull it out, pin it out here out of the way for a minute. And I'm going to wrap with the silver by hand, and I'm going over top of the black to hold that down. And then I'm going to do 3 turns of silver. And it's going to look like a single thread, but to get it to be big enough so it's noticeable, it can't just be a single turn. You could do single turns, or you could use bigger size thread, which typically I use a D size, which is about twice the diameter this A size is. I'm going to do 1 more. And then what I will do is I'll pin it again with my finger. I'm going to loosen this back up. Cross over. Pin it out of the way. Bring my thread carriage back in. And now I've got it locked down again. The black is over the silver. We're on the dirty side. I'll just tighten this up. And now it looks like a single thread there.
Oh, it does. Look at that.
I'll just use my burnishing tool to fill in. This kind of flattens the thread.
Yeah.
And gets rid of the gaps. So you lose, it's because a white blank shows through pretty easily with any color, with a dark color thread.
Sure.
So we're gonna make sure this doesn't get all tangled up. And we'll pin this back out of the way. Dirty side up. That'll just keep it from irritating me later. Alright, now we're going to continue with the black. Now we're a little bit short of where we want to end the black. Now we're going to pin a thread pull. Now when you put these thread pulls in, you got to figure out which way your knot's going to be.
Okay.
Because you can't pull the knot under there, so you always want the knot away from the direction you're going.
That makes sense.
And we're going to do it on the dirty side.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to slide that in there, and we're going to make a few turns. We're getting close to the end of the black. I'm going to put another one in so I can pull the silver later.
Oh.
So I'm going to hide this one in here. And then we'll turn the black out to the edge of where the black goes. Another few turns there. One more turn, because that'll pack back in nice and tight. And 2. There we go. Now we're gonna terminate the black thread. I'm gonna nip it, drop it through this first thread pull. Maybe. Pull the tension with my right hand. I'm gonna put a thread pull with my left hand. And so now I've ended the black. And I want to make it nice and square. Now I'll take the silver and I'll wrap it by hand. And we did 10 turns?
10 turns.
So there's one, beginning of the first one. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. And then we'll pull it back through. And the reason I didn't cut that black tag right there is I'm getting ready to pull underneath that with this silver too.
Okay.
And the reason I'm doing that is this A thread on this very slick blank, the size A thread, especially the metallic, it's very slippery.
Okay.
And if I just tried to pull it through here, it might let go before I get it all epoxied. And I'm definitely pulling up underneath the black, so I'm gonna pull that loose, so I'll be able to tighten everything up with these 2 tag ends after I finish pulling this through.
Oh, that's pretty slick, man.
So now we've got 2 tag ends coming out. So I'm gonna pull some tension on that to really tighten that up. And I'm gonna pull tension on this one. And then I'm gonna take my razor blade. And I'm just gonna lay the razor blade down on the blank, because I don't want to cut any of this. And all I want to cut is my tail. And the left hand is not working so well today. In fact, that razor blade feels a little dull. Grab another one real quick. And then all we have left here is to trim this silver tail. And then we'll burnish the tails down so you can't really see them. Straighten up your lines. Now what we'll do next is we're going to coat this with a really thin coat of CP Extra, which is a very thin epoxy. Like it's a 1-part epoxy. It's more like a polyurethane that cures with air. And we'll come back after we get that epoxy on and it dries, and we're going to put the guide here, and we'll wrap it with the blue thread, and it'll match this
nice
pattern.
Okay.
Got it?
Yep.
There it is, guys. The underwrap single turn inlay with 2 trim bands. Don't forget to check out Captain Lou's channel, where he has several of these FDX customs and showcases one. Was it the Fluke? The video was the last one?
Yeah, my latest video that's showcasing the BFS rod that Captain Lee built, and it is called the Fluke Madness. That's what the video is called. Fluke Madness. So look up Fluke Madness on Bassin with Captain Lou, and you guys are going to see an FDX rod at work, because he builds them, he fishes them, but I put them to work for real.
Oh, there we go.
So that's where you guys get to see how these masterpieces actually work on the water.
When we come back on the Voodoo Rod, we're going to do a color fade from black to blue to silver. It's a lot different than the color switch. It's not as difficult to do it as it looks. You're just going to have to practice it. But thanks for watching. We will see you next time.